Welcome to the Strong Marriage Live podcast. I am your host and your coach, Tenisha Collins. Thank you so much for joining me, and let's get started. So, today, well, actually, before I tell you what we're talking about, if you are a member or if you've heard about my private community, my brand new community on school, Sacred Sparks, in the community this month, we're all things financial intimacy. And I'm smiling because the accountant girl inside of me is just screaming, is just excited, it's just like, yay. I love how God has walked me through a path of accountancy and all things numbers to relationship coach so that those two things could merge and be able to help couples to build a divorce proof marriage. Um, as we, well, some people know that one of the top three reasons for divorce is finances. Maybe you don't have enough. Maybe you are arguing over not having enough, or maybe you have a lot and there's some control involved. But there are feelings attached to money, and that's what we're talking about in Sacred Sparks on my school community. And I wanted to share a little bit of what we're talking about with you today. So buckle up. Okay, so we know that there are many reasons why people get divorced, but one of the top three reasons is finances, as I said before. Many couples struggle to actually have a conversation about their finances. A lot of times, couples do not want to discuss their finances because they are trying to get away from conflict. But in my group, I like to express, emphasize, highlight that conflict is not a bad word. Yes, it's the way you respond to conflict that dictates whether or not that conflict is going to serve you in your marriage or not. So, contrary to popular belief, when conflict arises, if you handle it properly, you will come out being better off than you were at first. So, there are a lot of questions that I often receive regarding finances and how to navigate those type of conversations and all the other questions that come up. Stuff like, should we have joint accounts? Should we have separate accounts? How do we take those things? How do we apply the scripture to an actual life? If the Bible says we become one when you become married, then how do we do that practically in our relationship? And the first thing people think of is, well, not the first thing, but top high on that list is, what about these bank accounts, right? Everyone feels like it's my money. I've worked for it. My name's on this paycheck. It belongs to me. But a common misconception about marriage is that it's your marriage, your wedding. It's all about you. But marriage is a we thing. It's a team sport. It's servanthood. And I didn't know that when I said I do. How many of us actually knew that? Not very many. So, what I'm sharing with my private community members in sacred spaces is that Practical money management really isn't all that difficult. It isn't something super hard to do. It's just simply having a conversation. And I wanted to help you all have a conversation, how to start that conversation and how to finish it properly. Finish it. You should just hear that sound in your head when you hear the word finish. It's probably just me. But anyway, so should you have joint accounts? Should you? I'm going to say yes. You should have at least one joint account. It's actually a hard question to answer because I don't know you too. But remember, God looks at the heart. So I'm looking at your heart. What is your heart about money? What does money mean to you emotionally? Money has feelings attached to it. We know money is neither good nor evil. It's just a tool. I wish I had some. Oh, here we go. Got some cash here. Okay. So money is just, isn't this paper? It's paper. It's just some paper. Maybe you're like, what about this? It's some plastic. It really isn't anything. We use it to get the things that we need. We should not use it to control and to abuse and to confine and to constrict. But it is an object, just like your phone's an object or this is an object. Paper is for us to write on and to, use for several purposes, but it's not supposed to be used to paper cut your partner to death. There are proper uses for things, and we have to make sure that money is in its proper use. It is for us to obtain the things that we need in order to live: food, water, clothing, housing, all that stuff. So you need to figure out individually how you feel about money. Dig into your deep beliefs and fears around money, because those things are what actually drives your behavior and will basically lead into how this conversation with your partner is going to happen. So also think about this. Do you consider yourself a spender or a saver? What is that? So a spender, of course, is someone who is like, ooh, I'm going on shopping spree. They're always spending something. If there's a sale happening, they have got to get involved. They get excited about sales. They like shopping. What is a saver? A saver is the person who's like, I'm going to hold on to this money. I'm going to put money over here for retirement. I'm going to make sure I'm putting money, into my nest egg. I'm going to have money for a rainy day. If there's going to be a purchase that I'm going to get, I'm going to save up for that purchase, that type of thing. Each person has a money personality, and maybe there's a hybrid. You sometimes spend and you sometimes save. You're just right in the middle there. But you need to understand your money personality as well as your partner's money personality. Okay. So when you have that in mind, you can understand when you're having a conversation where they're coming from. Because remember, what is the point of having a conversation? The point is to get understanding, and understanding will put you on one accord. And that one accord is what God is talking about. That's where you have intimacy. That's where you have the oneness. Okay. So what does money mean to you emotionally? Are you a spender? Are you the saver? And let's just get comfortable with talking about money. Okay. The other thing you want to think about is, do we have a budget? Because everything is we when you're married. Not I got my budget and you got your budget. And hear me, because I'm not saying that's wrong either. It's where your heart is. How Are you two trusting one another? For instance, my husband and I, we have a joint account and we have our own personal accounts. We each have several personal accounts, actually. I think well, we have one joint account and we have several personal accounts. And these several accounts are for different things. So, like, my husband basically pays everything, but I like to help. I like to help, and I'm saying my help is I'm going to pay my car payment. I'm saying but it's our cars. Both of the cars are listed under both of our names, and we both pay for the cars. But I like to earn money and say, hey, I want to help you pay some bills by paying this particular car that I like to drive. So, so in my personal bank account, it's hooked up to auto pay to pay my car. I also have my own personal credit card. I only have one because I'm not into credit cards. Because remember, I'm the saver. And I have a personal bank account that's hooked up for auto pay for that. And, we just have different uses for our different accounts. And maybe an account offers some benefits that another account doesn't have. So we got that one too. And hey, I'm all about having these storehouses so that God can open windows of heaven and fill up those storehouses. So, hey, yeah, you don't want all your money in one bank, because what if something happens to that bank? Or let's look at this. The bank only insures you for $250,000, right? Well, if you have all your money in the bank and you have more than 250,000, what happens to the rest of that? It's not insured. Okay, so stuff like that. But at any time, my husband can go and look into that account. At any time, I can put his password in and look at his separate accounts. So is it really separate? You see what I'm saying? Yes, they are separate, meaning I have my name on it only and he has his name on that one only. But we are listed as beneficiaries on the separate accounts. So if anything happens, the spouse still has access to it. They also have access right now when nothing is happening because we have each other's passwords. So in that sense, if you are a household where there are no secrets and you share everything, fine. You can have a separate account. We still have that joint one. That joint one holds the majority of the money. The other separate accounts get on a little bit of the money. But the joint account holds the majority of the money. And those things, you can work on. They're just conversations, right? So we do have separate budgets because, I have a paycheck and he has a paycheck. So I know how much comes in and I know where each dollar goes. I have what I call a $0 budget, which simply means that every single dollar has a name. He does not like a $0 budget. He has not renewed his mind. When he hears $0 budget, he's thinking she is going to spend everything into his zero. But he does not keep into account that on that budget is a below category, which means this is money that I'm just going to keep in my pocket. It's like a personal petty cash. And it's a certain amount that we've agreed upon that you're going to spend wherever, however. But we know that $300 will be unaccounted for instead of you looking back and wondering, oh my goodness, I had $10,000 in the bank and now I only have $200. What happened? Okay, that right there will cause an argument because something is always going to come in, right? And if you're thinking, I've got 500 and you only have two and you try to go charge something or, buy something, well, someone's looking silly in the line. And I tell you what, I do not want to be looking silly in the line. So those things are in the budget. So talk about your budget for your household and how do you track the things in your budget. And that's why I love the $0 budget, because tracking is like automatic. You put in the total amount that's coming in and you list everything that's possible of going out. Maybe you're thinking, Tanisha, how do you know everything? Things come up. They do. And you have a category for that too. So you just put a category. We have a cushion category. And that just simply means I'm going to save $200 to $300 until I get another paycheck. In case anything happens, if one of the kids needs to borrow some money, if I go somewhere different and need gas or, whatever, I need to get brakes or I need to do this, I have $300 into the next paycheck. So we have a cushion, you can have a blow, you can have whatever category you want. So that's why I like the $0 budget, because everything's on there. If you can think of it, it's on there. Put your dollar amounts in there. And even if you have all these expenses and not enough coming in, at least you know in advance before you get your check, because you do this before. And that way you can say, well, maybe I need to, what other stream of income can I get in here in order to take that negative balance to a positive? See, that helps you plan for the future. And that's another thing. Couples do not plan. They don't share their goals and their future plans with one another often enough. And that in itself can cause you to get out of alignment, because what if the husband is planning on purchasing a home in the next 5 years, but the wife is planning on having a huge vacation to celebrate the 30th anniversary or the 50th anniversary. They have two different goals. They're out of alignment. And so when those things come crashing together, there's going to be friction. And if you didn't properly handle this whole financial scenario, then that means you don't have the tools necessary in order to handle the type of friction that situation is going to cause. So you should be asking your partner, what are our financial goals? Short term, what are we doing? In the next year, what are we doing? In the long term, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, what are we planning for? Retirement, sending kids to college, renewing our vows. Maybe we didn't have a big wedding when we first got married, and now we're going to do the big shindig. What are your goals? And you should be asking yourselves in these conversations, what does financial legacy look like to us? Questions about your retirement plans, your savings goals, your financial independence after the kids are out of college and you're empty nesting, and what does that look like? Once you know what it's going to look like, then you can make the actual steps to get there. Okay. So if you and your partner are finding yourselves a lot, well, not even a lot, but if you're having kind of like the same fight about finances over and over, it's probably not about numbers. It's about your values. It's about how you perceive money, how you feel about money, and your communication style. I always say that if you have a solid foundation with Jesus, you and your spouse, and you both have the tools to effectively communicate, you can come out of almost anything. So, I didn't want to keep you long today, but I wanted to share about what exciting things we're doing in school, Sacred Spaces, and invite you to join us because we're digging deep into questions like what happens if one of us loses a job or there's an emergency and we lose an income. What do we do? How do we as a couple navigate that together without killing each other, basically? Planning for the worst case scenarios is something many couples don't want to do. But you really need to have those conversations in order for you to make it through. Okay? So,
Are you tired of the endless arguments and frequent disappointments? Are you feeling more like roommates than lovers or feeling unheard in your relationship? Does it feel like intimacy is fading or that your passion is slowly slipping away? It doesn't have to be this way. A great relationship is possible no matter what it looks like now. Our small group coaching program is designed to help you avoid needless heartache, eliminate unnecessary arguing, feel more connected to your partner, and experience more physical intimacy than ever before. Why struggle for even one more day with a toxic or unsatisfying relationship? You deserve more. Imagine rekindling the passion, feeling deeply understood, and reaching your relationship goals together. This isn't just a dream, you can do the impossible with a possible plan. With expert guidance, we'll take you step by step through a proven process that helps couples like you find their way back to each other. Maybe it's time to get bold enough to ask for help or to try something new and start experiencing the relationship you dream of. Join the program today. In just 4 short weeks, you can be experiencing the marriage of your dreams. I got my happily ever after, and I can help you get yours too.
if you want to make sure you get your happily ever after and make sure you can have those conversations, about anything, finances, opposite sex friends, all the things, make sure you join me in school, Sacred Spaces, so that you can get the tools that you need to communicate. You can also have access to private coaching, and you also have access to the course that you just saw the commercial for. So, I'm not going to hold you guys tonight. I want to remind you that next Saturday, yes, next Saturday, the 17th, is going to be the first edition of Date Nights with Tenisha. And I'm so excited for this night. It's like a curated, done for you date night where you're going to get some tools. You're going to get to practice those tools and have so much fun doing it. Join me in Woodland Hills from 6 to 8. All the information will be in the description box. And before you leave, I want you to remember you really can have the marriage of your dreams. You just need the tools to build it.